So I'll quickly move on to the next session. I was recently having a session with our fellow associate BAs, and they said, okay, the Scrum team develops the product. Okay, the product owner or manager envisions it. Where do BAs come into picture? How do we make that impact? All right. So I think this is a very good question for budding people who really want to understand how we can make or break a particular product. So for that, I would want to invite our guest speaker from Reckitt Global, Shafi, who's a senior manager and comes with a great deal of experience. And he'll be accompanied by our fellow EPAMer, Siva Prasad, with over 25 years of experience and leads the Reckitt account. Siva Prashant. I'm so sorry. Please, Shafi, over to you.
Am I audible? Loud and clear? Thank you. First of all, thank you, EPAM, to be here. A full house here. Good evening, everyone. And for the people joining virtually from elsewhere, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So before we start, how many of you know the Reckitt products? Apart from the people working for Reckitt, please. How many of you know Reckitt products? Apart from Dettol, let us add that.
Soft clues. It's some of these products are something you have used all through your lives.
Okay, Harpic, more. Dettol, Harpic. Sorry? Lysol, okay. Sorry? Sorry, Retin. Reddit. No. Okay. So you'll be surprised. We'll have in one of our slides, we have the brands that we have for Reckitt. So the brands as such are widely used, and you know them day in and day out. But Reckitt is something that makes that, and that is something that many people do not know. Okay. So why am I here? I am not a BA. So I'll definitely not be preaching to the choir here, saying what BAs have to do, what BAs do not have to do, and so on. I am here just to share my experience working as a lead of the transformation program that we are partnering with EPAM, Shiva and his team leading that, and our experiences and how critical the role of a BA is from our perspective. So that is what I'm going to share here. Okay, and this is a brief agenda for us, and will not take much time on the introduction. The 2 and 3 is where we will have a lot of time on, and then 4 and 5, obviously. Okay, brief about me. I've been in this industry for the past 20 years. All of it in the data side of things across multiple technologies, geographies, and industries. CPG have been in it for the last, I think, 4 years now. Joined Reckitt in 2021, and have been leading multiple programs there. Right now, I lead along with the transformation program. I also lead the DNA Competency Center, or the DNS COE at Reckitt. Okay, how many of you know these now? How many of you use these? So Dettol, Lysol, and Harpic, you all got that. Finish, Strepsils, Gaviscon, Mucinex, Mortein, Airwick, right? Calgon, right? Enfamil Nutrigen. If any of you have been to the US, maybe you will be familiar with these nutrition brands. Okay, so these are some of the brands that we have at Reckitt, and an overview of Reckitt. So there are 2 levels of transformations going on. The first one is an org-wide transformation in Reckitt, where the way we were structured was into health, hygiene, and home, and nutrition. These were our business units that we had. Late last year, there was a shift in that, and the way we are trying to organize ourselves is into essential, home, Reckitt core. So the health and hygiene, we have pushed that into Reckitt core, and we are trying to move the home related products like Airwick and Mortein and some of them into a separate business unit. And nutrition has always been like for quite some time has been already delineated into a separate business unit. So this is a massive transformation that is going on at Reckitt. why this is massive is the way, right from corporate reporting that happens, the results that we give, all of that was under health hygiene. So all of our ERP systems, everything had to be aligned to that particular level. Now to move all of those products and rearrange them into a different structure is not an easy job. And doing this across the length and breadth of our organization is quite a major transformation. Okay. But what does it have to do with what I'm going to say here? So this brought about a challenge. Like, okay, I'll have to talk about IMX. So I'm going to talk about another transformation which we piggybacked on top of our earlier transformation and created this, right? So the challenge with the earlier transformation was there were hundreds of reports, multiple dashboards each market uses. Like, we are across more than 50 countries. So each market uses multiple dashboards which had all of these business units as their drivers. All of them have to be changed now, right? And one of the challenges was many of these dashboards were built locally, not on top of our global platform. If you can see, right, like 85% of those reports were on our local program, local platforms. Only 15% on our global data platform. So all of these led to a massive transformation requirement. So rather than doing only that, we also added another layer to it, saying that why should these be done locally? We have global platforms. Just why do we even change those reports there? Bring them onto the global data platform while you are at it, right? And why do we do that? Is these are some of the objectives that we have. Ensure business continuity. Business continuity, when we are actually moving or making this change, the business should not be impacted. For example, if you see the daily sales report, the number of daily sales report that you see there, massive, 112. So what that means, let me explain that graphic for a bit, right? So a daily sales report is something that the sales analyst in the market sees during the beginning of his day, says, okay, what is the target that I have? How much sales did I do? And what should I do today, right? But then why do we have 112 daily sales reports? It should be one report, right? So we're talking about EUANZ. This is Europe and Australia, New Zealand markets. So around like 35 countries we're talking about. They have 112 reports because many of them have been developed locally on. So for example, a sales analyst comes and asks the local IT guy, I need a report, right? What he does, he plugs into our ERP systems, downloads the data into an Excel, put it on SharePoint and build a report and give it to him. The same happens multiple times over and over again. Now, when all good, right? Because the business or the sales guy is getting the report in 3 days, as opposed to if he comes to a global platform and asks for a report, he'll get probably in 3 months, right? But the challenge with that is when there are transformations like these at an org level, now all of these reports, which were not built on a global platform, not following any standards, all of them have to be migrated, the changes have to be made for them, right? That number one. Number two, who will support these many reports? The guy who built it will go, right? The challenge is the support of these reports, right? So just in UNZ alone, for supporting the local data infrastructure, we used to spend more than 1 to 1.5 million every year just on supporting this from the local IT infra. So we used to call that a derogatory term, I know, but we used to call it the local cottage industry that they had actually developed there in UNC. So we said, no, nothing doing. We are not going to support that unless you move all of that onto the global data platform. Meanwhile, continuing our business, the business should not be impacted. So we have multiple waves in which the transformation has been done. So unified reporting is what I was talking about. All the reports being sourced from the global data platform, having less number of reports, but unified division wise, right? Eliminate. So this was the objective of our earlier transformation or the org-wide transformation, hygiene and health, eliminating them in and bringing the Reckitt core, right? and then deploy Trinity. Trinity is our global data platform, which our EPAM team has been managing quite well. So bringing all of those reports onto our global data platform, adapt to system changes. So as part of our Reckitt org-wide changes, all of our ERP systems or finance systems, all of them are also undergoing change to adapt to that change also, and then streamline and automate the transformation and adopt the global. So these are some of the objectives of the transformation. And so we want to bring all the data infrastructure that is there in the local platforms onto the global platform, move some more than 700 odd reports into less than 150 reports in the first wave, and then like further scope for any harmonization, we will do that later. I know a busy slide, but to help you understand the scope of this transformation, this was needed. Okay, these are some of the this is how we want to do that in waves. The wave one, like business continuity, ensuring the reports as in situ, right? Like wherever they are, those reports would be any redundant reports would be just deleted, and the reports which cannot be immediately harmonized will be changed to be aligned to the org changes. The wave two is where we move all of them onto our Trinity, onto our global platform, and then like the cross region harmonization within the EUNZ region itself. Like we have multiple sub regions. We have Central Europe, Eastern Europe, West Europe, Central Europe, and all of that. So cross region report harmonization also we will and who are all involved in this program? Like obviously the program management, but then like we have our DNA leadership involved driving that. We have our IMEX EUNZ leadership, like the local market regional leadership, and the business functions, our supply functions, HR function, our sales functions, and so finance, and so on and so forth. All of them are involved, and I'm proud to say EPAM is present in many of these places. Okay, Shiva, you and your team have been involved and driving this program with us, right? Very complex slide and showing the ways of working or the operating model that we have for this. Do you want to explain why it is so complex?
Sure. Hello, everybody, and thank you, Shafi. I'll try my best to demystify it. As you have seen, we were involved in almost all the aspects of bringing this complex program onto the Trinity data platform, and where and when, how BS have helped is what I'll try and kind of address at this point. So, first section, where we have, in fact, let me back up a little and tell you about the different types of BS that we had interacted with. The first was the market BS or the regional BS, who are Reckitt employees who have been working with these reports for the past several years, know them in and out, and are having the entire functional knowledge of how the business runs. So they see the report, they know what's gone wrong with it, and they're able to kind of give us the immediate feedback. Then we have the BAs who help develop these reports. That's from a different vendor who are partnering with us and working with us. So they have a set of people who have been knowing how to kind of develop these reports in and out. Then we have our own EPAM business analysts who have come in fresh into this program and are trying to do two aspects. One is, how do I rationalize these reports and bring them onto the common platform, number one. And number two, how can I work with the program BAs or the market BAs and bring that knowledge into a way into the EPAM side of things, so that we are able to do a better job in harmonizing those reports and make them much more simpler. Because we have entered from the data space where we are trying to bring in all the data first and then do the analysis. These three sets of BAs are where most of the complexity kind of risen. That is the reason why we kind of thought of bringing this particular slide to you. The wave one activity is something that the vendor BAs have been working on, trying to kind of bring different country, different daily sales reports from 150, 120 to 35. That's where their focus is on. Our focus is on how do I bring those 35 to maybe 5 or 6 at a later point in time. So as part of this whole exercise, I'm not getting into each section and then trying to talk about it, because it takes me 30-40 minutes to talk about it. But that's where the BA approach from the client BAs, from the vendor BAs, and our BAs is kind of coming to the fore. This section, as I said, is from the regional BAs. This section is where our team is kind of working on to bring them down to a much, much lesser number. Unless and until there's a proper handoff, unless and until there is a product management mindset in, if you think of all these reports as a product, if you think of all these reports as, an end deliverable, how do I rationalize them? How do I harmonize them? And how do I get the knowledge so that I'm able to do it right the first time? Getting 100 odd reports into 35 odd reports is no mean achievement. Getting them onto 5 reports is also no mean achievement. But ensuring that all the hundreds and hundreds of people who are using these reports before are satisfied, are able to make best use of this, convincing them that, it doesn't matter that we are bringing down your numbers from 100 odd to 35 odd or 5 odd. Your needs are still satisfied. Your needs are still met. That's where we have found the most complexity, the most pushback between the three sets of BAs, the three sets of teams in how do we make this work? How do we come to a common agreement? How do we deliver what is right the first time? That's the reason why I just wanted to have this picture shown to you. We bring in the data knowledge, the vendor BA brings in the report building knowledge, client brings us the validation knowledge of, yes, this report works, this report does not work. And working across multiple zones, multiple countries, multiple languages, this is what we have been able to achieve. And this has been going on for the past 5 months. From a progress perspective, I'll say at this point we are at 15 to 20% achieved, while we have consumed maybe 20% of the budget already. But the whole acceleration is going to come in the next 3 months. And we are already seeing it in our own sprints, where we started off with 0 report delivery after 1.5 months, 4 report delivery after another 1.5, 2 months. And now in the last sprint, we've been able to move it to 8 reports. That acceleration has come through a lot of pain, lot of discussions, lot of back and forth. That's what we've been able to achieve. And I'm proud to say that we should be able to meet, if not exceed, the target before the end of this year. So thank you, Shafi, for this.
Thanks, Shiva. I was afraid you are going to give a status report here. So guys, the main reason we had this was like to help you understand. If you look at the green points, the green arrows and the green circle, right? Throughout the cycle of that, taking the reports from the business users, saying that, okay, why do you need all these reports, funneling them down into a reasonable number of reports, giving them to the data teams, helping them understand what needs to be done and what are the critical KPIs, how to harmonize them and all of that. And then having them validated and then getting the sign off from the markets, right? So every step of the way, the BS, like whether it is market BS, whether it is our DNA BS, whoever it is, right? They are very, very critical in every step of this way. So that is the reason why we brought this here. Okay, significance of a BA. Now, I promised I'll not be preaching to the choir, so I'm not going to read all of that. The reason why I brought this slide is to tell you that, yes, BAs are strategic partners, right? Unless the BAs are brought in early. So some of the programs where I've seen the BA comes in later, right? Like first the roadmap is done, all the alignments between the IT leadership, typically IT leadership is done, and then the BAs are brought in, right? And then like they go talk to the business and the business has no clue that there is this thing happening. And we go and tell them, but this has been in flight for the last so and so months, right? So bringing or treating business analysts as a strategic partner is very, very important. And that is what we have done. We have tried to bring them on much earlier into the program. Requirements master, like why do we bring them on is to understand the requirements from both the sides, not just like requirements is not gathering only from the business point of view, but here some of these are IT driven transformations. So understanding the requirements, why do we need to do that? Why is it critical for this IT transformation to be done along with the business transformation is also important. And that is where the BAs play a critical role in understanding and conveying that message either ways, right? Comms nerve center, nothing more to say, right? Like they are the focal point of conversation between the business. Like it's like they're like the translator in the UN programs that you see, right? Like everyone speaking their own language, but without the translator, no one understands. So they are the translators. You are rather, right? Problem solver, absolutely. data analyst. Without that, I think I heard Pawan and Abhishek gave that, and one of the critical things on being hands-on, you have to have that, especially this being a data transformation program, you need to have those skills so that like you churn the data, you understand, and then you come up with those solutions. The change agent. So a similar transformation just preceding that was where we had to consolidate couple of data platforms into one. And the biggest challenge for us was to convince the business that now this report, which has the same KPIs, which is much faster, much simpler, more aesthetic, can you give sign off and shift to that so that we can retire that report? So the BS had literally had a very tough time convincing their business, and that is where the change management comes into picture, and business and BS play a very critical role in that as well. Yeah, I've been talking about the challenges, lack of clarity. If we do not have the clarity, because if you look at this operating model, this is a very simplistic depiction of what has been going through in that transformation program. And if any BA does not have the whole picture, why this needs to be known. For example, the BA on the top there, the market BS, if they do not know that once they give that initial set of reports, what will happen and what is the end goal, without that clarity, they'll never be able to do the right job, and then we will face obstacles right through. Right, the lack of documentation. So we are talking about hundreds of reports, and I told you how those reports were created. Just local IT guys creating those reports on top of Excels and SharePoint. Right, no documentation. Now imagine what the situation is, trying to understand all of those reports without documentation. So please ensure, if not you, someone in the team has that has every step documented. Right, no thorough analysis upfront. Yeah, this is where, like, again, to my earlier point, having the complete understanding of the overall program, and understanding not just this program, but the BS should also look either ways and say, are there any other programs? For example, at Reckitt, there is another transformation going on where we are moving our ERP from JDE to SAP, right? Some of these programs, if they overlap, then there is an impact. So understanding that and bringing that also onto the plate is important. Not always you'll have that, and that is where talking to the other people, to the stakeholders, as was mentioned in the previous session, is important. Yeah, summing it up, I think just for any successful transformation, you are the key, and your ability to align business with the technical leadership is paramount for us. So I think we have come to any questions. How are we on time? Are we on time? Yep. Disclaimer, I am not a domain guy, I'm still an
So my question was that you are going through market, understanding what customers are looking at, but there is also a domain constraint. So how do you marry this up? And let's say that I am staying with the domain, then how do market gets new idea?
So why is domain a constraint? If you look at CPG, think and new ideas, right? What else is new other than AI? And our Genesis program, which EPAM is again part of, is that is utilizing Gen AI and bringing marketing up to speed, and helping marketing teams, right? All of that in the domain. So why do you think it is a constraint? Maybe I did not get the question right.
To put it simple, how many options to give and how to be intelligent enough to choose them?
If I may just, so you're talking about from the perspective of a functional BA, to you want to remain a functional BA for longer. Is that the thought behind it? This question?
No, I am understanding how to place some new idea into market as a product.
Okay. So earlier you were, I mean, I'm talking about those days where I was preparing for B school, several decades ago, I can say that. You would have a lot of these marketing and brand managers and all sitting in rooms and trying to kind of generate different ideas and looking at ads, looking at your daily lives and generating ideas and kind of coming up with them, and then making example thanda matlab Coca Cola, thanda dena, that's how different ideas kind of propagated. In today's world, that cycle of idea generation to execution, what used to be taking months is now in minutes. That is only and only because of the availability of data, the ability to churn the data and then come up with quicker answers, supporting your individual mindset. But even now, if you look at some of the ads that you see for CPG and retail organizations, they are still very close to the heart, but they're just relevant. Look at the Cadbury's ad that was there before, and now how the roles have flipped, and there's a guy coming in and then handing it over to a girl who has played a great cricket shot and hit it for a six. The same idea, how it turned around in the last 15 or 20 years. How did that idea come? It came from daily life, I mean, as an example. So staying close to what the market is looking for, staying close to what convenience is versus what practicality is, and being able to kind of apply what you see in your daily lives in and around you, keeping your eyes and ears open, and support that by using your Gen AI. Like we had the quiz at the beginning. Earlier it was only written words and written combinations. We had to hunt for pictures from different places. Now we are able to generate that picture at Jiffy. How? By you all becoming PMs, not product managers but prompt managers.
Just to add, right? The domain is also evolving, right? Just as Shiva said, how the CPG world was 10 years back or even 5 years back now is completely different to how it is now. So it's not just that like domain is a constraint, domain is also evolving, right, along with the technology hand in hand. So I do not think that is a constraint still.
Thank you.
Just a second, Mani.
Okay, we'll take one last question before we have to move on to the.
Hey, hi, this is Mirza. I have a simple question. How do you ensure that the solutions which we are building are future ready? For example, if Reckitt acquires some product, how do you ensure their sales report get automatically generated as a part of your solution? So what thought process do you usually make when you come up with such solutions?
Okay, when you say future ready, earlier it was like, okay, will we be using that 10 years down the line? A few years back, it was like, will we still be using it 3 years down the line? I think now future means will you be using it in 2026, right? So that is how it is evolved. So we do not look too ahead into the future, especially in CPG. Like we are like, bring it on, fail fast, learn fast, and move forward. So we do not actually think too much into the future. Sure.
Yeah. Hi, this is Vishwajit, and thanks Shafi and Shiva for briefing it out. So my question is like, for the BAs, since you have signified about it, right? Like, how do you see in the coming years from being a functional or technical BA? How do you see how to cope up with the current market, and how do you see in the next 2 to 3 years BA being transitioning? Secondly, I did follow, like the company, whatever you people are doing and the map which you have created. So what can I expect in the next 3 to 4 years down the line, where Reckitt would be there, and how would we expanding its market and operations? Thank you.
Let me answer the second question first. So we have been undergoing this reorg for the last, I think, 6 months or more now, and there is a reason for that. Is like we have understood that there are some brands which have been not focused upon in terms of their R&D and all of that, whereas there have been some brands which are, like, we call them our power brands, which are actually doing much better. So we are trying to segregate them so that, like, there is enough focus where the power brands are, and there the not so or great brands, like we are trying to focus differently on them, right? So that is one of the strategies for us for the next few years, and hopefully that will pay off. What was your first question? Sorry. To BS, right? I think like any other job function, right? I think earlier also it was mentioned that Gen A, right, or A, or today it is Gen A. A decade ago it was big data. A decade ago it was something else, right? These are more tools that will help us do our job effectively rather than anything that they change the nature of how we work. But I don't think they will be able to replace any of these job functions anytime soon.
I mean, we'll still need to clean our homes. We'll still need to clean our hands. So
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you.
Thank you, Shafi. Thank you, Shiva. That was super insightful. I'm sure there are a lot of questions for all the audience. Let's park some additional questions. We'll take them at the end of the session when we are doing offline networking. Okay, moving on. Our next session is super in line with what everybody is talking, AI.